Now we will go on to the presentations and proclamations part of our agenda. Our first item is a presentation from Mr. Clyde Forbes regarding the Hopeville Boys Center Inc. mentoring program. Mr. Forbes, would you give us your name and address, please?
My name is Clyde Forbes. My address is 2003 Bertha Court, Hampton, Georgia. I'm an executive director for Hopeville Boys Center. It's a mentoring program here in Spalding County. We've been operating now for the last 5 years. And we have approximately about 50 plus young men that we're working with. And one thing I've learned is that Hopeville Boys Center is one of the best kept secret, and that's something that we're trying to eliminate. And so today we just wanted to come before the Board of Commissioners to let you know that we are here in this community. We're working with young men in the Spalding County school system, and we're excited to be a part of this whole process and helping our young men be productive. As we all know, there's a lot of issues with our young men, and one of the things we try to do is basically put them in a positive environment to change some of those negative circumstances that they're facing on a daily basis. And so we are here. We can do more if we work together in this community and helping our young men to succeed and be successful. And I'd like to invite you all to be a part of what we're doing and let you know that we're here to serve, and we're here to serve this community. Thank you very much.
The next presentation is from Mr. W. Theodore Harris in reference to a submittal of a letter of intent to the Transdisciplinary Collaborative Center at Morehouse. Mr. Harris, give us your name and address.
My name is W. Theodore Harris, and I live at 519 Nine Oaks Drive here in Griffin. And Madam Chairwoman, members of the Spalding County Board of Commissioners, County Manager, citizens of Spalding County, good evening. For those of you who do not know me, my name is W. Theodore Harris, and I am the program developer for the Griffin Spalding Reentry Task Force and the principal investigator for the Health Disparities Research Project at New Mercy Community Services. We come before you this evening representing or requesting a letter of support for a research project which seeks to inform public and policy decisions aimed at eliminating health disparities. And thank you for this opportunity to address you. Within the last 4 years, a research task force was formed by members of the Spalding County community and has been researching ways to improve public safety by helping ex-offenders remain in the community as productive tax-paying citizens. During the past 4 years, the Reentry Task Force has gained a greater understanding of the many needs and challenges faced by ex-offenders. Through collaboration with the Spalding Collaborative, we were able to obtain a grant through the Second Chance Act that allowed us to plan and develop a reentry program for Griffin and Spalding County. It was during 2011 that the Griffin Spalding Reentry Task Force was formed. I believe that you have a organizational chart in front of you. It was the charge of the task force to develop a strategic plan that addressed issues concerning housing, employment, education, counseling, and health care for ex-offenders. In February 2013, the strategic plan was completed and submitted to the Bureau of Justice Assistance. We now await an opportunity to implement our plan. In July of this year, the Transdisciplinary Collaborative Center at Morehouse School of Medicine approached us and asked if we would apply for a research grant. The aim of the center is to inform policy decisions through innovative research and scientific evidence aimed at eliminating health disparities. New Mercy Community Services, Inc. has stepped forward to collaborate with Morehouse and spearhead a study of health disparities here in Spalding County, especially as those disparities relate to ex-offenders. Our goal is to improve health outcomes for everyone living in Spalding County. Our goal is to increase public safety for everyone living in Spalding County. And our goal is to reduce recidivism for everyone living in Spalding County. We know that on the average, 217 men and 37 women are released from prison and return to Spalding County each year. We know that the majority of these men and women reside in some of the poorest areas of Spalding County, namely Census Tracts 1603, 1604, 1608, and 1609. We also know that incarcerated men and women suffer from staggering rates of communicable diseases. We know that thousands of inmates are released into the communities throughout Georgia each year with undiagnosed and untreated diseases and mental illness. We also know that ailing ex-offenders return to prison at a greater rate than their healthier counterparts. By our calculations, the overall recidivism rate in Spalding County is an appalling 60%. We are asking for a letter of support so that we can design a research project that will answer the following 6 questions. First, what health care needs do ex-offenders have? Second, are these medical and mental health needs being met? Third, if so, by whom? Fourth, if not, what barriers are preventing ex-offenders from having their medical and mental health needs met? Fifth, how do these medical and mental health needs affect the larger community? And sixth, what role does the health of ex-offenders play in their success or lack of success at reintegrating into the communities? Answers to these questions and more will provide empirical evidence which will be used to drive health policies designed to eliminate health the disparities among the neediest members of our county. Thus, in the interest of improving health outcomes for all citizens, in the interest of increasing public safety for all citizens, and in the interest of reducing recidivism for all citizens, we humbly request your support in the form of a letter of support. And I do thank you.
Does anyone have any questions?
One that came to mind, if I could ask, and maybe this is one of the things that you're going to try to find out, but how will the Affordable Health Care Act impact the health care?
That's a question that we definitely will be looking at as we proceed with the study, because right now we really don't know.
That's all I have.
I got just a couple of questions. Mr. Harris, will you be seeking letters of support from these other organizations that you're affiliated with through the collaborative as well? I know the collaborative started with the reentry program. You collaborated with them.
The collaborative itself has written us a letter of support. We also have received a letter from the health department as well. We also have gone to the whole clinic, and we're looking for a letter from them as well, because those are the two health entities that we should be working very closely with in terms of collecting data. In terms of the design of this particular study, we'll be working with the health facilities within the prisons themselves. We want to identify individuals who will be coming back and living here in Griffin, so that we can begin to interview them and also follow them as they begin to live their lives for at least a year, so that we can gain a sense of what barriers they may come into contact with, during that year period with respect to health. Because, again, we know that there are a number of individuals, who have communicable diseases, some of which are unaware of the fact that they have communicable diseases. So it's very important for us to identify those individuals and make sure that they're getting the kinds of treatment that they need, so that we're not running the risk of increasing our health problems here in Spalding County. In addition, we're looking to ensure that we have healthy individuals so that they can work and we can begin to train them. We're going to begin to look at grants that will allow us to train individuals for future jobs here in Spalding County, assuming that we can bring more jobs into Spalding County. And I think that with this particular board, that could definitely happen. If there are other questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
No, I have, I'll get with you and ask some questions. It just sounds so much like what Governor Deal is talking about in terms of trying to return people back. And my question always to him has been, how do you get the private sector to, accept it? I know that's not what this grant is about.
Exactly.
But I think that's a huge hurdle that will have
Yes.
to be dealt with at some
Yes,
point.
that's one of our challenges, to really, to get the private sector to buy into, taking a chance on someone, so to speak. My argument to them is that we are providing you with a better employee, because we have wraparound services such as counseling, which will ensure that, or help to ensure, that the individual is going to be on time, that he's going to be trustworthy, and that he's going to be an asset to your business and have a positive effect on your bottom line. In addition, we're talking about increasing some of the tax incentives for the hiring of individuals who have returned from prison. So, that might be a way that there can be more buy-in on the part of employers.
Well, if there are no other questions, is this an action item? Or is this a presentation?
He does want a letter of support, so if there's no problem with the board with a letter of support after hearing the presentation, we can draft one for the chairman's signature if no one has a problem with that. There's no financial support being requested, just
No.
a letter of...
So, do we need to do a consensus since it's not a, or do we?
Mr. Fortune, what would you recommend?
Oh, I would just recommend that we just do a show of hands of support, or give the chairman authority to sign such a letter, just so we've got it on the record.
I'll start at that end. Mr. Miller?
Make a motion to write the letter.
We have a consensus of 5. Okay, thank you, guys. At this time, we'll have
Wait a
the,
minute, did you guys vote?
we didn't vote. He said he made a motion, but we didn't hear it.
Okay, nobody objects, right? Nobody.
Okay, at this time, we'll have a presentation of the financial statements. We will consider approval of the financial statements for the 1-month period ending July 31st, 2020.
I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. The one thing that I would point out to you is that beginning in July The SPLOST sales tax monies that we received began going into the debt service fund to pay for the debt service for the fiscal year. There's about $3.5 million, and I'm estimating it'll take 25 and 6 months. So you won't see sales tax money going back into the capital projects account until December or January.
So the debt service is on the money that we got for the
Yes, ma'am.
industrial development
Yes,
land
ma'am.
purchase.
And we have to accrue that money up front.
Jim, what's gonna happen to the road we're gonna pay with sales tax money, then we're gonna have to hold off on that?
No, the way this works, Commissioner Miller, is you have to accrue the debt service first. And so after you've met that for that year, everything else goes into what we call the project fund. And I believe we have between $4 and $5 million accrued in the Spalding County project fund. So you have money sitting there that you could pave some roads with or begin paving roads with. It's just that every July, in order to make sure that we meet the debt service for the year, we start accruing it in the debt service fund again.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Madam Chair, motion to approve financial statements.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Gardner and a second by Commissioner Ray to approve the financial statement for a period ending July 31st, 2013. Any other discussion? All those in favor, show of hands. 5-0. Thank you.
Madam Chairman, this is not on the agenda because we have,
Ms. Garrison, would you wait, please?
we have notified the news media back in May that this is the new plaque that the Government Finance Officers Association is issuing now for Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting. And we've got quite a collection of these wooden ones on our wall out here. This is the 12th consecutive year that we've received this, and now they made this nice plaque, and they're going to put little buttons on here for each year that you get this award. But we got this just last week, and it will be placed on the wall in here. We want to thank Ms. Garrison and her staff for all the work they do to help us get this certificate of achievement.
We do want to thank you. She keeps us in line. Next item on the agenda is consent agenda. Okay, I'm sorry. Item number 6 is citizens' comments. We have a list here of anyone who wanted to speak during citizens' comments. That's the sign-up sheet. If you did not get to sign it, you still can. All speakers must sign up prior to the meeting and provide their names, addresses, and topics in which they will speak on. Speakers must direct all comments to the board only. Speakers will be allotted 3 minutes to speak on their chosen topics and relate to matters pertinent to the jurisdiction of the Board of Commissioners. No questions will be asked by any of the commissioners during citizens' comments. Outbursts from the audience will not be tolerated. Common courtesy and civility are expected at all times during the meeting. At this time, we have Ms. Betty Landers of Kennedy Road, 189 Kennedy Road. Would you come up to the podium and give us your name and address?
Betty Landers, 189 Kennedy Road. My question is for Ms. Taylor. This is just a question for you, that I was told that you, none of your district were opposed to the airport, and I called you to ask you if you said this. In other words, I wasn't taking their questions as for granted, but I called you to ask you that, but you never, and they said you would be home at 4 o'clock. This was about a week and a half ago, and you never returned my call. If you did, you never left a message on my answering machine.
If you don't leave for the meeting, I'll be glad to get with you on that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we have Mr. Bobby Purifoy at 9175 McDonough Road.
Bobby Curifoy, 917 South McDonough Road.
Oh, sorry about that.
And I'd just like to address the board again on the airport issue. And I've stated this before, and I'll state it again. This airport situation gives a whole new meaning to the word political football. It's been kicked around for the last 40 or 50 years. The city of Griffin is known that the city of Griffin has been trying to get rid of that airport for at least that long. Joanne Todd, and I can name others, you know, if you've been here long enough, they want that airport moved. Hillingdale's wanted it moved. Evergreen Forest wants it gone. For the obvious reasons: noise, pollution, air pollution, all these negatives that go with an airport. They want it gone. And certainly the folks out in eastern Spalding County don't want it out there either. Ask yourself this: what percentage, ask yourself, what percentage of the population of Spalding County uses that airport? Have you ever thought about it? What percentage? It's low. It's not, it's way low. Nobody uses that thing, that I know of anyway. And here we are, you're fostering this thing, this airport, on eastern Spalding County because the city commissioners want it there. They want it gone. And we, the people out in unincorporated Spalding County, have no voice. We have no voice on those people that are elected in the city. But they're the ones that are pushing this agenda. So at least give these folks out here. I remember, and Chipper, you know, 1978, the Spalding County Fire Department just wasn't created out of air. The commissioners back then, at least, they gave the citizens of Spalding County the right to vote on that proposition. And it was voted in to set up districts so that we would be taxed for that fire department. And the people had a voice in that decision. These folks have invested their lives, their income into their property, into their homes. At least they deserve a voice, a vote as to what's going to happen to their homes and their property. So at least give them the right to vote on this proposition. Whoops, there goes my time. Y'all have done an effective way to shut down opposing views with this 3-minute rule because of the North McDonough issue when you sold those folks out. But at least give these folks the right to vote. Seems like I remember somewhere, government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Seems like I've read that somewhere. Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda will be consider approval of the minutes of the following meetings. August 5th, 2013, regular meeting. August 5th, 2013, executive session.
Madam Chair, move to approve the minutes of the identified meetings.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Ray and a second by Commissioner Johnson to approve the minutes of the August 5th, 2013 regular meeting and the August 5th, 2013 executive session. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, show of hands. 5-0. Item number 9 on the agenda. Item number 5 on the agenda is a consent agenda. Consider approval on first reading and ordinance amending the Code of Spalding County, Part 7, Chapter 1, Section 7, 1002, relating to speed limits on specific county roads by adding Brentwood Drive from Carver Road to the dead end and Brentwood Circle from Brentwood Drive to the dead end to be posted as 25 miles per hour.
Madam Chair, motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Gardner and a second by Commissioner Miller to approve on first reading an ordinance amending the Code of Spalding County, Part 7, Chapter 1, Section 7-1002, relating to speed limits on specific county roads by adding Brentwood Drive from Carver Road to the dead end and Brentwood Circle from Brentwood Drive to the dead end to be posted as 25 miles per hour. Is there any discussion?
I brought that at the last meeting, about children playing. Will that be included when they put the speed signs
Yes.
like that?
Yes, sir, I've already sent them one.
Okay, that's it for me.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, show of hands. 5-0. Next item on the agenda is old business. Consider District 1 appointments to the Ethic Review Board. I have submitted the names of Mr. A.C. Johnson.
We need to lift it off the table.
Oh, is it
Motion to
table?
lift from the table.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Gardner and a second by Commissioner Ray to lift from the table consideration for District 1 appointments to the Ethics Review Board. All those in favor, show of hands. 5-0. Is this the district appointment, right? Okay. My district appointment for that position is Mr. A.C. Johnson and Mr. John Cecil. And I still have a remaining appointment to make. Item number 10, new business. Consider approval of a final plat for SD number 5-09 Rocky Creek Estate subdivision, a minor subdivision located off Boynton Road and Rocky Creek Road. 65.371 acres located in land lots 171 and 172 of the 3rd Land District. BJA LLC owner. Chad?
Good evening. What y'all have before you is a final plat for a minor subdivision, which was actually a subdivision that was platted back in 2005, memory serves, and then subsequently recorded. There's originally 33 lots, or there's currently 33 lots that are out there right now. The number of flag lots that go on, that are gained access on the Henry County side. What's being done, proposed right now, is a combination of 16 of those lots into 5 larger lots, which will eliminate 5 of the flag lots and actually create just 5 larger, more logical lots. Everything meets plating requirements of the Spalding County UDO. All the necessary departments have reviewed it and signed off on it. And at this point, we're just asking for board approval.
I don't have it attachment. You got
That's
it?
a plus for us because
Yes.
it reduces flag lots and,
It's going to clean these lots up.
makes
What-
the lots
Yeah.
larger.
Well, yeah, what is the dimensions gonna be of the lots that you're?
They run from 8 acres to
30
30
acres.
acres.
30 acres.
They're large trains.
Average about 12, 13 acres with over 500 feet of frontage. And as the gentleman stated, it was a poor plan with flag lots. It just, it was.
We don't allow for them on our side, but since those portions that run up along Rocky Creek gain access off the Henry County side, they were allowed to do that. But this is going to clean a lot of those up. We're starting to see this kind of come a little bit more commonplace, a combination of tracks into larger tracks. Seems like some folks are wanting to get like in the 10, 20 acre range lot sizes to build their homes on. So it's not uncommon right now.
Okay, so is there anyone here to speak about this?
If you have any questions, I think Chad pretty well addresses what we've got. So if anybody's got any questions, I'm David Aldridge. Be glad to answer them.
Madam Chair, motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Gardner and a second by Commissioner Ray to approve the final plat for SD number 5-09 Rocky Creek Estate subdivision, minor subdivision located off Boynton Road and Rocky Creek Road. It is 65.371 acres located in land lots 172 and 171 of the 3rd Land District. Any discussion? All those in favor, show of hands. 5-0. Thank you. Item number 2 of new business, consider request of the Humane Society for a letter stating that Spalding County has no objection to the state granting a one-day alcohol license for the Society's annual chili cook-off to be held on October 26, 2013 at the Pavilion on Aerodrome Way. William, would you address that, please?
Yes, ma'am. This is their annual chili cook-off. They do this every year, and they will have an authorized licensed distributor handle this. And since the county does not issue one-day permits, we have to do this letter in order to get the state to issue those one-day permits. But we've never had any complaints, and it's a good fundraiser for the Humane Society.
Madam Chair, move to approve the request from the Humane Society for a letter stating that Spalding County has no objections to the state granting a one-day alcohol license for the Society's annual chili cook-off to be held October 26th at the Pavilion on Aerodrome Way.
Have a motion by Commissioner Ray and a second by Commissioner Johnson to approve the request from the Humane Society for a letter stating that Spalding County has no objections to the state granting a one-day alcohol license for the Society's annual chili cook-off on October 26, 2013 at the Pavilion on Aerodrome Way. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, show of hands. 5-0. Item 3, consider approval of an amplification permit number 13-11 as requested by Henry Warren for a horse riding and music event to be held on September 28, 2013, beginning at 8 a.m. and ending at 12 a.m. The event will be held at 680 South McDonald Road.
We have issued a permit here before. It is a horse riding and music event, and he wants it 8 a.m. until 12 o'clock midnight. I believe this is a Saturday. Yes. All the fees have been paid, everyone signed off on it, and the required lease agreement is here stating that he can hold those events there.
Just one moment, the agenda has it ending at 12 a.m., which would be,
12:01 would be 8.
okay, you want this to run to midnight?
Yes.
Have some strange hours, okay, all right.
Madam Chair.
16 hours.
Yes.
Seems like when we issued this before, we changed the hours, but I cannot remember what it was to. I think they were going to
I
2
think Ricky
a.m.
said they wanted 2 a.m. and we pushed it back to midnight.
Okay, all right. That's all I have.
Have we granted anybody else amplification permit till 12 o'clock at night?
Yeah.
But, I mean, when we've had other people to request it, have we denied it when they wanted it at 12 a.m.?
I don't know that we've ever denied one. I know we've changed several, but I don't think.
Well, that's what I'm saying, have we changed it so that their hours were, they had to be, you know, have their amplification stopped earlier?
10 or 11.
We had one couple that came in a couple for, I think, 3 years, and we had complaints on the first year, so we packed them down to 10 p.m. versus 12 because of the complaints from the first one.
To my knowledge, Sheriff, have you received any complaints about the McDonald Road location? I think, Madam Chairman, I think the only time we did back it down was when we had complaints out on Low Ring Road.
Okay. What's the will of the board?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the application permit 1311 as requested from Henry Warren for horse riding and music event to be held on September the 28th, beginning at 8 a.m. and ending at 12 a.m. for $2,400. Event to be held at 680 South McDonald Road.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Ray and a second by Commissioner Gardner to approve the amplification permit number 1311 as requested by Henry Warren for a horse riding and music event on September 28, 2013, beginning at 0800 and ending at 2400 hours. The event will be held at 680 South McDonald Road. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor, show of hands. 5-0. At this time, we would like to conduct a public hearing for the 2013 capital improvement element and short-term work program.
We need a motion to conduct. Madam Chair, make a motion that we conduct a public hearing for the 2013 capital improvement element and short-term work program.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Gardner and a second by Commissioner Ray to conduct a public hearing for the 2013 capital improvement element and short-term work program. Any discussion? All those in favor, show of hands. 5-0.
If there's anyone in the audience who would like to comment on that, now would be your time. Madam Chairman, I want to explain that we are doing this. Actually, on the last agenda, we approved transmittal of the short-term work program in CIA. That was an error. We should have held the public hearing first, and then, as we're doing tonight, submitted the transmittal. That is a staff mistake. We apologize. But the proper procedure for doing this is to hold a public hearing, and then once comments from the public hearing are taken, then we transmit the information to Three Rivers for their review.
We won't have to second this again at another meeting.
Yes, sir. Once they approve it,
Once they approve it, there will be a meeting that you have to officially adopt it. Once they come back with it, everyone can vote.
you're submitting it now for their review and approval. They'll make a few changes, and then we will have to adopt it and send it to ARC. It's a bureaucratic procedure.
Is this hearing only for the public? Are we allowed to make comments on it? When I was looking at what we submitted, what we have ready to submit, we have, why is it necessary for us to put stuff on the capital improvement element in the short-term work program if we've already completed it?
They just want to show where you've gotten stuff that's been completed, and we can start to move those out, but they like to see where you, these are the projects that you started out with, and then you completed them. That way they can kind of see like a progression of how it's moving forward.
And my second question is, is there a standard form, because you have projects that are 2013, projects 2017, 2012?
What it is trying
they're
to, there's a method to the madness in that there's projects that, due to whether it be funding constraints, obviously because impact fees have decreased as the economy decreased. So it's projects trying to plan them in a window to where there's funding to actually get them accomplished, and kind of putting those in a smaller window. And then the ones where probably need a little bit more funding to get those off and running, and some additional staff input or things of that nature would open up a little bit larger window, kind of grouping them into readiness, if you will. We've got these out here that we can get going, that we have funding for, that's sitting in the impact fee account, and we can get those done and accomplished, move them out, and just keep sliding them on. So we took a more logical approach this time around, instead of just wide windows. So instead of like trying to do them all in one swoop.
Well, I guess my thought along this is that if you have items that are in the short-term work program, and they're all something that you want to do on 2013, why wouldn't you group all those together and things that are supposed to be worked on in 2014, so that
it's the format that they want, that we have to submit to them. They want to see all of these projects in this, essentially a master list, if you will.
But I understand that, but if you got to go to page 14 to see this project that's supposed to be happening in 2013. I was tired by the time I got to 10.
I understand what you mean. Just basically grouping them, like reordering them, I guess, from the top down, like through priority or year length. We could do that. Basically, that's been the format that we've used, I would say, for the last 7, 8 years, just essentially that order, those projects. They're kind of grouped right now by, like community development, Parks and Rec.
By function.
It's kind of,
They
there
group
is
by
a method
function
to that.
rather than by
So,
year like you'd like, and we can change that next year.
The only thing, it might make that a little bit more confusing, because like you got all the Parks and Rec in this area, and then those are kind of tied off to the CIE as well, so that's kind of why they're in those types of groupings. So like you'll have like, so like administration type projects that are tied to impact fee things, and then you have those years that are broken down here, then you go to the next round and say maybe community development type stuff and so on, so. That's kind of where it gets a little funky.
And I just want to make this comment about it. If I were a citizen who, you know, actually had time to get on the website to see what was going on, I think that the way that that's presented, and this is no reflection on you guys, is very confusing, because I would be thinking, if these are the things that the county's gonna try to get done or get started in 2013, then those are the things that I'm really gonna be interested in, because it's 2013. I'm really not gonna be interested in where you are gonna be doing, I mean, you can put 2017 in there.
Yeah, and we can even regroup it by,
It's
say,
a
for,
measurement for folks to
for
see.
public dissemination, we could even regroup it by those years too, to put it on, you know, say the website, and then break it down by year. It's just, it would jumble up all the different departmental type. DCA and the RDC just want to see like these are the areas that are, these projects are being tackled, like, you know, like from community development, and then from fire and so on and so on. Because then that's the way that they're tied to the CIA. You'll see like like E911 and then library and then Parks and Rec, you know, they're in those breakdowns.
Yeah,
They're kind of married that way. But we can disseminate to the public in another format on the website too. We can look at that.
One more question, Chad. These projects that are on the list, I noticed that some of them have kind of, some of them, to my thinking, are not relevant because we either done them already or we did something else, and that doesn't make sense to do a study for that when we already did the thing. So do we continue to submit those things just because that was what our list was, or do we need to go back at some point and say, hey, this needs to come off the list?
We actually took some off the list for this round that they basically had gotten out there, they were no longer logical, and I touched base with Jeannie over at the RDC and said, hey, look, some of these no longer make sense because they date back to almost 10 years ago, to where they're not logical anymore. So she said, yeah, go ahead and pull those off, and get a little, you know, explanation of why. So basically what we've been doing is kind of cleaning this list up and you know, like I said, putting it in a more logical format to where we can actually accomplish them and get them done and moved off, and we can even streamline and go through to us, all right, you know, this project's no longer logical because, say, we accomplished these other projects that has made this one no longer necessary, we can pull those off the list. So we're looking at it more strategically now, so yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of the transportation items I thought were just kind of moot because, like the study for the Interstate 75 out to Wallace Road.
The interchange.
And
Yeah, and those are ones that kind of get, still kind of kicked around, like actually tomorrow I gotta go to the 75 corridor, you know, meeting where that gets talked about still, you know.
But I think it would be nice, since you got a whole different group of mindsets
Sure.
that weren't here when that was created, for us to have an opportunity to look at it and see if our priorities are different than what they were 5 years ago. Was it 5 years ago when it was done? When we went back to do the comprehensive? I mean, I know we have.
The comprehensive transportation plan, yes, ma'am, but this is a combination of every plan we've got, but in particular, the comprehensive transportation plan is going to be redone next year.
So this is specifically
That's
tied
one of
to, this for tied to impact fee funds. That's
Right.
That's what this is gonna.
Okay.
So it's
Alright.
projects that can be paid with impact fee funds.
Okay. I know, notice on a lot of these, of course, we have county budget and things like that, where I guess where the money is accounted for. When you have something that's undetermined, are these things are gonna, like you were just mentioning, it's gonna come up later, or?
Correct, where we got to figure out, you know, because again, like, you know, not all of these projects can be 100% funded
Right.
through impact fees. So there's some projects on there, like, you know, like the Dundee Park, certain percentage of it was funded through impact fee funds, some was funded through, you know, other funding mechanisms. There's projects on there that may be a combination of, say, like impact fees, SPLOST. It just depends on that project. And you gotta be real careful what you spend impact fees on. Like, you could build, say, a fire station with it, or buy a fire truck with it, you can't fund
Fire
salaries.
being.
Right.
Exactly.
So we had undetermined, I just wasn't sure what that meant.
Okay, I think I have most of my stuff asked. Anybody? You have your hand up, Jennifer? Or you just stretching? Oh, okay.
If there's no further comment, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Gardner and a second by Commissioner Ray to close the public hearing for the 2013 capital improvements element and short-term work program. Any discussion? All those in favor, show of hands. 5-0. Thank you.
That was my fault to make something, get this done.
Thank you. Item number 5, consider approval of a resolution number 2013-08, authorizing transmittal to the Three Rivers Regional Commission of the 2013 capital improvement element and short-term work program and incorporation of these changes into the Spalding County 2025 comprehensive plan.
That was what you all approved last week incorrectly. If you don't mind, the minutes will show that we approved it incorrectly at the August 5th meeting, and we made the corrections, held the public hearing, and are authorizing transmittal at this meeting pending a vote of the board.
Madam Chair, motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Gardner and a second by Commissioner Ray to approve Resolution 2013-08, authorizing transmittal to the Three Rivers Regional Commission, thank you, of the 2013 Capital Improvement Element CIE and Short-Term Work Program STWP and incorporation of these changes into the Spalding County 2025 Comprehensive Plan. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, show of hands. 5-0. Item number 6, consider bids and authorized contract for 27.39 miles of resurfacing on 22 county roads.
Madam Chairman, board members, the long-awaited resurfacing this year. It includes the 2008 LARP. Some of you were not here then, but in 2008, we bid out the LARP. The state had given us roughly $340,000 towards the LARP at that time, and the bids came in $650,000 to $700,000. In 2008, we did not have the funds available to match that difference between what the state had, what they were giving us, and what it was going to cost. So we rejected all bids. 2009, we changed the way we submitted our LARP and asked for the state to issue LET contracts, which meant that we got much fewer miles, but the state handled everything. 2010, they changed it from LARP, which was Local Assistance Road Program, to LMIG, Local Maintenance Improvement Grants. And so we submitted in 2010. Actually, it was LARP in 2010. We submitted the first ones in 2011. They have been done. These are 2012 submissions, I believe, 13 submissions, 12 submissions for 13. But a total of 27.39 miles, 22 county roads. We have to bid this out. The state will no longer bid out things for us. They will no longer inspect them. They will no longer do any of the things required that they used to do. So we're having to assume all those charges. It's the state funds towards this are about $840,000. The low bid was from C.W. Matthews, and it is $2,394,223.80. C.W. Matthews is based out of Marietta, Georgia. The other bidder was E.R. Snell out of Snellville, $2,394,854. So, we had 6 people sign up for the pre-bid conference. We had 2 people actually bid. One company, Blood Construction, was going to bid, but we have a 180-day completion clause in this contract because we want to see the roads get resurfaced. And so they could not guarantee completion within 180 days, so Blunt Construction did not bid. The remainder of the funds for this will come out of the 2008 SPOS, and we had budgeted $2.2 million for this, so we were a little bit off, $2,394,000, but this includes restriping, this includes leveling, and recommend C.W. Matthews $2,394,823.80.
I have a question. Does anybody want to have a question before I ask mine? So we only had 2 organizations to bid for this,
Yes, ma'am.
and apparently their bids were like $30 a part.
Correct.
So what makes C.W. Matthews better or whatever?
They're the low bid.
Did I hear 801,000? You need those numbers?
The difference is roughly $31.20. The extreme, I have never seen a bid that close.
Well, I mean, I'm just trying to figure, all things weighed, just because one bid was $30, $31 less. I'm just trying to figure out,
They're both good contractors. C.W. Matthews is probably the largest contractor in the state of Georgia. They are currently here working on the project from
North side of Griffin.
the north side of Griffin. And they have also, they did our LARP when it was let by the state for the past 3 years. C.W. Matthews bought Hill Construction. You're used to having Hill Construction has primarily been low bidder on all of our resurfacing, probably for the past 10 or 12 years. But Hill Construction out of Thomaston, who has an asphalt plant here in Griffin, sold out last year to C.W. Matthews. C.W. Matthews has bought probably 10 or 15 smaller companies over the past 5 years, and Hill Construction is one of those that they bought, because Hill primarily got the bids because their asphalt plant is located right here in Spalding County.
I guess the $31 is not a big deal. I was just trying to figure out, did you go like this? Because I mean, $31 in low bid is a problem, not a problem. But the thing that I do have a problem with is, this is $2,300,000, and we don't have a policy, a purchasing policy that levies anything that says some Spalding County businesses or people will actually work on this project or get paid for this project being done in Spalding County. And I know that we're working on that. I'm just saying that's a problem for me. Will we have to do the patching on the road before they
Yes, ma'am.
repay
We're in
it?
the process of doing the patching now.
And how much is that costing us? Is that coming out of SPOS funds?
No, ma'am, that's coming out of our general fund. The patching is always done out of our general fund, and so far, I think we spent about $35,000.
So, and now, if you say that the state is gonna reimburse us, how much?
The state gave us roughly $520,000 for LMIG, and the contract for the LARP is $330,000, so $840,000 of this we're gonna be reimbursed.
So technically, we're underbid. I mean, if we're gonna be reimbursed 800-something thousand, and it's 2.3 million,
We built that into the budget, the $800,000 as revenues is built in. Yes, ma'am, we budgeted $2.2 million for the project. came in at $2,394,000. There's no reason to think it would come in any lower if we rebid it, because it's getting near the end of the paving season.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I'm not saying to rebid it, I'm just trying to, when you said that it's actually gonna be going over about $100,000, maybe $200,000 what we thought, I'm just saying that if the state recoups us, we're actually gonna be getting it for less. Am I misunderstanding what you're saying? Am I confusing
We
y'all?
budgeted on the revenue side and the expenditure side for this transaction. I just put the amount that the state gives us in there to show you how much we're actually having to match towards this project. Where the match used to be 40% up to 60%, the match now is much greater than that because the state has stopped doing a lot of the things that they used to do.
What we're gonna have to do is put $2.2 million roughly with it. Seeing you take $800,000 off,
Yes, sir, roughly. It's $2,394,000, we've got to put $1.5 million with it. So we have to put, they put $800,000, we put 1.5.
Right, okay.
Okay, see, that's what I was trying to understand what you were saying, because I was thinking that this is the whole entirety of the bid, that's the entire cost of the project. And,
She was thinking the 800,000 was on top of the 2.2.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
It's part of it.
It's part of it, I'm sorry. It is not 2.3 plus $800,000.
can we, why can't we, she says we're gonna have $4 to $5 million. Can't we go ahead while we're doing this and pave some more of these roads?
These are the only ones approved by the state. Now, we can pave them, if you divide this out, it's roughly
$87,000
a mile.
Yeah, you'd already told us.
$88,000 a mile. We're getting a third of that back, so roughly $28,000 per mile. If you want to go ahead and pave some more roads without that match, we could do that, but our 2014 LARP is due in September, and we intend to submit it in September, and we'll be awarded that next year.
And we'll have to match the funds. on
And
that.
we'll have to match that, so
But
I
we-
would wait.
Right, we still have splash, but we're not gonna use it for something else. It's gonna
No,
be-
sir, no,
Yeah.
sir, we'll still have some.
I'd rather
left
wait,
over.
I'd rather wait to get the
Yes.
state's money.
At least you get a third of it from the state.
Right, okay.
any other questions?
One other thing, can I give a list of the roads you're gonna pave that, out of that 27.4 miles?
Yes, sir, it is attached, and it is resurfaced. Let's make that clear. These are resurfaced. These are existing paved roads that are gonna be resurfaced. I don't want folks to think these are dirt roads that are gonna get paved. But I'll get you a separate list, but it is included in here, but I'll get you a separate.
I was going to bring up under commissioner comments, and I'll go ahead and do it right now since we're talking about this, but I think we have, what, one or two patching crews?
We have two patching crews.
And one or both of those crews are the ones that are getting the roads ready, doing the patching right now, prepare for this. And we've been trying to, at least I hope we're trying to move forward on this, because some of these roads, I know in my district, are sore need. We're wasting money patching them when we could be resurfacing. And so, but I would like a list of these roads to go out to the media, and I'd also like the media to let the public know that, you know, we're trying to get the other roads patched as fast as we can, but we only have these two crews, and they're trying to get these roads ready for resurfacing, and I know we've got other roads that have got potholes in them, and we're trying to get them when we can, but I mean, we're just pretty strapped as it is. So I just would like the public to know that we're just trying to get all of this taken care of as fast as we can.
Also, William, that on Carver Road, they're doing an excellent job of
Yes.
where they're doing the work out there. I mean, it's a top job for just
Yes.
patch work. I mean, to go back in and re-spot those roads, they're doing a good job. So you need to let them know.
Yes, sir, that is, this, folks think asphalt is very hard, but asphalt is malleable. And if you do not have a good base under it, and you let the water get into the base, it will not.
You could
Work.
get 12 months out of it, especially if you got a truck running.
So what they're doing now is milling down, we have a machine called but it digs down about 6 inches and grinds up everything, and then we put new base down, and then put new binder down, and then asphalt on top of that to patch it to get it ready. Because if its subgrade is not strong and dry, it won't do any good to resurface.
I noticed this shouldn't have, whatever happened to that asphalt that was sliding off where they repaved that?
We went to DOT. That was resurfacing that was done last year. GDOT made the contractor come back in and replace it at no charge to the county or the state.
Did they came back and did it?
No, sir, not yet, but they are, and DOT has told them they will withhold final payment until they do.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, I move to approve bid and authorize the contract for 27.39 miles in the amount of $2,394,823.80 to C.W. Matthews on Spalding County Road, on 22 Spalding County roads.
I second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Ray and a second by Commissioner Miller to approve the low bid of $2,394,823.80 to C.W. Matthews for the resurfacing of 22 miles of county road. Any discussion? All those in favor, show of hands. 5-0. Item 7, consider approval of a county policy for the naming of facilities and erecting plaques, monuments, major markers, and artwork. William, you want to-
Madam Chairman, when the idea first came up about naming the Senior Citizen Center after Lewis, the board asked that, well, number one, if we had a policy. No, we do not. And number two, if I could find a policy and present it to the board, which I did a couple of days after that. We have made changes to this policy. This policy was obtained from Putnam County because Putnam County last year or the year before went through a process. They had one of their local servicemen over in Afghanistan killed in action, and they wanted to rename some roads and things after this young man, and there was no policy in effect there, so they developed this policy. I did submit it to all the commissioners for review. There were a couple of comments about naming things. In particular, one comment was made about the length of time between the time the building is named and the time that the person that is named after is deceased. I think currently this policy calls for 2 years. Yes, 2 years after retirement or separation, or 2 years after the person's death, if the person has not yet retired or otherwise separated from the county. And that's under naming without donations. It's got naming with donations, naming without donations, renovations. It deals with everything from pictures to plaques to renaming of rooms, artwork.
It's very thorough.
It is detailed. But that is what we have found and presented to the board.
Was this the only county that submitted one back for you?
Yes, sir, this was the only one that I found. I submitted on what's called a listserv for all county managers, and this is the only one I had found. Several people commented that they really needed one, and I think several people obtained a copy of this one. But not many counties have a policy. It's just how things happen. Here we have the Gary Reed Fire Station, we have the L.B. Norton Fire Station, and we have the C.H. Sanders Station. So, and the Woodruff Fire Station. So, The Woodruff family donated the property for the Woodruff. The L.B. Norton family gave us it was in the contract for the purchase of the property that it be named after Mr. Norton, and they gave a significant break in the price. Of course, we named the North Hill Street or Jordan Hill Road Station after County Commissioner Reed. And C.H. Sanders, I believe Chippewa was the first fire chief,
Yes.
and we named Aiken property. And then also, I believe Blaylock was named after Blaylock Machinery and Equipment, was it not?
I'm not sure. See, the 5 original stations were named in 1978 and 79. I came in 1979, so
You're old.
I feel old.
William, under the policy statement, it says, naming facilities, buildings, and other areas of county properties and on request, so on, so on. County properties include roadways, bridges, etc. Correct? Okay.
Every piece of property we own.
I read through the policy and I think it's a good policy. I strongly feel that we need something. It forces thought and consideration to go into the naming instead of just, for whatever reason, trying to decide whether to name a facility or whatever. And it also has a provision in there for setting up a committee to be a review committee that could be considered even taking the politics out of it. So, just having read through it, I think it looks like to be a very good policy. That's just my knowledge.
The policy does take 2 years. Right?
The way it's written, yes, ma'am.
It makes it a fair and consistent policy. Where we don't have one now. It just provides for a better community.
I think that, I don't know, why it needs to be 2 years. I think that 1 year should be sufficient, if it has to be a time frame.
I'd be okay with that.
I also, number 2, naming without donation. It says that recommendation is not associated with a donation for a naming in honor of a living or deceased citizens, elected officials, staff, volunteers, members of the community, state, and national leaders shall be considered on a case-by-case basis only when supported by extraordinary justification for the naming. Okay, does somebody see down there what the definition of extraordinary justification is?
I assume that would be decided by us.
And the board would define that.
Well, see, that, I have a problem with that, because that's too subjective.
Well, we can take it out, that way it won't allow any exceptions.
That'd be fine, take it out.
Is that a consensus?
Now, which part are we taking out?
I assumed it would be the entire first sentence of section 2, naming without donation.
You can start with a proposal may be made on the earlier of the following. Paragraph 2.
So that means,
This it would start with the proposal we made earlier, followed code 2 years after the separation of county
You have 1 year.
Can do away with the first sentence.
take out the whole recommendations all the way down to
A proposal.
naming, period. And then a proposal may be made on the earlier of the following. And change that to 1 year. Both those, 1 year after retirement, 1 year after the person's death, or
Yes.
leave? Okay. Gotcha.
Naming guidelines about county buildings and building use for non-government. It says in both of those, buildings will be named for those individuals and organizations who have served the county in an official capacity. What does that mean? Does that mean they are employed by the county? They were a contractor with the county? They cut grass for the county? I'm not quite sure what that means. In the next, it says streets and roads will be named for persons with long and eminent service to the county. I don't know what that means. I mean, I kind of know what it means, but it doesn't specifically say what that means. I just think that saying stuff like long and eminent service, long could be I worked for you for 3 years on this project, or long could be I worked for the county 30 years. And eminent means something different to me than it does to you. And I'm just saying that, you know, if another 5 group of commissioners are here and everybody says, well, he's eminent. You know, what he did was just really good.
We let them figure it out.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, how are we gonna figure it out? Because what I think is good might not be, you know, that good. All I'm saying is, if there's some specific criteria, and I'm not saying, okay, we gotta go back and look at whose history or, you know, who worked on the whatever, this should be based on their relationship with the county, and saying long and eminent service doesn't define what that is. I mean, we should figure out, you know, I see further down it says that they've had opportunities to improve how the county, how their input improved what the county looks like to the public, or it actually, you know, improved our status in the state, or something that is objective, not just a feeling of I think that he was a good guy or she was a great lady. So I would like to see that language worked up, because, you know, providing significant service to the county doesn't work for me, or long and eminent service, or, you know, I mean, the specific financial gift, if someone had donated $1 million to us to help build a senior center, then they would, based on this, they would be eligible to have a center, request to have a center named after them. Really?
Yeah. If they gave $4 million, I don't care who they named it after.
I said a quarter of $4 million.
No, I think actually it says 50% of the value, doesn't it?
No, it says 25%.
So that would be $1 million.
Yeah, and my answer is, really? Do we really think that's gonna happen?
But if it did, would you have a problem with it?
Mm-mm. I let them get a room in there.
As long as they pay down the light bill.
But I mean, do we, obviously, if somebody gives us $1 million toward a $4 million building, we won't have a problem with that. But if it's a $800,000 project, and they give us, do the math.
$200,000.
They give us $200,000, is that quite the same thing?
Still 25% of it.
Well, I guess if y'all good with that, I'll leave it alone. Plaques and monuments. So do we have will we have something standard where someone will either have to apply or come to make a request here?
This would put that in place.
I believe it says it comes through the county manager. All such naming proposals must be made in consultation with the county manager. No commitment for naming shall be made prior to approval by the Board of Commissioners.
We have a commemorative and memorial tree program.
No, ma'am, this would,
Yeah, start one. Get start one. Put trees down there, more trees.
I mean, we did have, several groups gave us money for landscaping at the senior center. No one was recognized, but we did have several groups.
Trees were donated.
Rotary Club, Kiwanis Club,
Frank?
Frank Harris.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, it says a request for a plaque or major markers. I mean, would you put that down for some trees?
No, ma'am, no, you,
On E, miscellaneous smaller items, bricks, benches, and similar items consuming little, if any, square footage may carry donor or honorary names with approval of the county manager. All external designs and namings of this nature shall be reviewed and approved by the county manager.
the benches that are being erected at the senior center by the Eagle Scouts, it does have a little plaque on it that says Eagle Scout, blah, 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 presented this. But it's tiny, it's just a little brass plaque that says Eagle Scout so-and-so donated this as part of his Eagle Scout project to this center.
It's not like road markers.
Yeah.
They have some down, marks, monument thing, concrete down at Ambush. That Ambush Club put down there, because they wanted to name fields after people, and they wouldn't let them. So they put these monuments down there with a plaque on top of it,
Yeah.
with the names of people.
And I think we did, the playground at Ambucks that the Ambucks Club paid for, I think that has a little naming on it too, I'm not certain.
And the handicap equipment at one of the towns has a plaque on it.
Yes, for
the
resurgence.
Madam Chair, if I may. I'd like to move to approve the county policy for the naming of facilities, erecting plaques, monuments, major markers, and artwork with the change identified in paragraph 2. To delete the first paragraph, the first sentence. Let me find it, excuse me.
Naming without donations.
Yeah, recommendations not associated with a donation for the naming of honor or living of deceased citizens, elected officials, staff, volunteer, members of community, state or national leaders shall be considered on a case-by-case basis only when supported by extraordinary justification for the naming. That to be deleted, and the remaining of the paragraph to be moved up.
Can I ask one
And then
question?
to change the time in paragraph 2 on both instances from 2 years to 1 year.
Can I ask one thing before, I know you might, who is going to pay for this?
Let me second it first. I'll second it, now we can discuss it.
I have a motion by Commissioner Ray and a second by Commissioner Gardner to approve the naming policy. Is that what we're calling it?
Yes.
The facilities and erecting plaques, monuments, major markers, and artwork with the changes suggested by Commissioner Ray. Is there any discussion?
Gwen,
Yes, sir.
who's going to pay for this now? Are the people that come ask for it going to pay for it? Or is the county supposed to come up with this money?
I don't see where that is addressed in here.
I think it needs to be addressed.
Under if you look through here, donors will be asked to provide curating costs required for maintenance and repairs. That's under artwork. Bricks, I don't think we have too much of a problem with. Shrubs, trees. I think we can put that on, I think that's a policy, I mean, an administrative thing we can put on the form, William. I don't think that,
You know, if somebody makes a donation to us and, you know, and they want a plaque, certainly we should be able to provide a plaque. I mean, I don't know how much a plaque costs.
We put a plaque on the fireplace at the senior center,
And that was how much?
less than $75.
Unless, of course, I would think that if there was a specific kind of plaque that someone who made the donations wanted, then it would have to be approved by us. But I think certainly,
The plaque for the J. William Edwards Pavilion was paid for by
them.
the Edwards. The plaques, the dedication plaques that come with all of our buildings, those are built into the price of those buildings, like the dedication plaque that lists all the commissioners, the architect, the engineer, everybody that was on the building as you walk in the senior center. That's part of the building, that's part of the cost of the building.
To me, I mean, you shouldn't break it down to say if it costs $75, that the county will pay for it, but if it costs $750 that you gotta pay for it, I mean, you just set a price, to me, that they would be responsible for it.
we just tie it with the 25%. If it's 25% more donation, then we provide the plaque, anything less, they provide the plaque.
That's it.
That's fine.
So can you amend your motion, if that's your new motion?
Amend the
Wait,
motion to.
we're still in discussion. Okay. Sorry. We did not discuss, your motion did not address the long service. Was that your intent not to address that?
I think that's up for the individual boards when the issues come before them to address. I don't think we can address that in a manner that would properly be objective in a manner that would facilitate most circumstances. That's up to each board that comes after us with this policy to work.
In order for us as a board to be able to work, how are we gonna determine what long and imminent service to the county is? We don't even have a definition of what service to the county is.
I'm sorry, I don't have enough hair to split them, and
I don't think that that's splitting hairs. I mean, that is a basis for why we would decide to allow someone to be able to name. Just because they give us some money, I mean, a loan shark could give us some money, just because they want to give it don't mean we got to take it. I mean, we broke, but, you know, we're trying to have some sense of something. And I mean, I think it makes a difference. I mean, I don't think that we should be naming stuff just for people because they got money.
Madam Chair, we have a motion and a second. I'll call for the question.
Okay, have a motion, you said you wanted to amend your motion, you want to rescind your previous motion and, make another motion?
I will, the previous motion is to approve the county policy for the naming of facilities and erecting plaques and monuments, major markers and artwork, to also facilitate the change to paragraph 2, naming without donations, recommendations not associated with donations for naming in honor of living or deceased citizens, elected officials, staff, volunteer members of the community, state or national leaders shall be considered on a case-by-case basis only when supported by extraordinary justification for the naming. Shall be deleted. A proposal, the remainder of that paragraph to be moved up. And then also in that same paragraph, we changed the 2-year requirement to a 1-year requirement, and to facilitate the 25% donation, the county provides a monument or a plaque, not a monument, and anything below that, the requesters would provide said plaque. To amend it.
I seconded it, now we will be on
Did you get all that?
I didn't hear what Commissioner Gardner. I just said, I seconded the original motion, so I'm good with the amendment.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Ray and a second by Commissioner Gardner to approve the county policy for the naming of facilities and erecting plaques, monuments, and major markers with amendments to change the time limit when consideration for renaming is from 2 years to 1 year, to remove,
First paragraph.
first
sentence,
paragraph, the
two.
second, first sentence in paragraph 2, and move the rest of the paragraph up. I think that was it.
And the 25% donation.
And 25% donation, with the 25% donation, add with the 25% donation, the county will provide a plaque, and all other donations, the donors will be asked to provide their own plaque. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor, show of hands. 4, those opposed, 1. Item number 8, Commissioner Ray would like to discuss establishing a vehicle use policy. Will you address that?
Madam Chairman, at the last meeting under the county manager's report, I gave you a report regarding what happened in 2009 and 2010 regarding county vehicles. We do not have a county vehicle use policy. That was actions taken by the board for only personnel who report to the county manager. Did not affect elected officials. This policy, we did obtain a Bullock County vehicle policy, which is very, very detailed, and did provide that as an example. I asked for comments on this. I haven't had any negative comments, only positive comments, that it was very detailed, but it would set us up with a policy which we currently do not have. And this was done at the request of Commissioner Ray.
Actually,
Go ahead, Commissioner Ray.
in that we've talked about vehicle use over the last few years, and we not having a policy. I felt it was it would be better if the Spalding County Commissioners established a policy for all our vehicles and employees. It would be a recommendation to the elected officials, but it would, this policy is very, very specific. It breaks down the different categories of take-home vehicles and different categories of vehicles on how they're used. And then with that, we've made our recommendation and set our policy for our employees. For the elected officials, it gives them something to work with. They may adopt it, they may adopt it and change it, but it puts something out for everyone to utilize that we don't have now. And it would, because Bart had some very good points, and this would help end all that. And for future boards in the future, so like when 2010, when Wyndham, the Department of Communications, had a vehicle assigned to him. That way there's a policy in effect to identify who, what, when, and how, or why they get one. We don't have that now.
Any other comments?
When can we sit down and go over this thing? I mean,
I would like to recommend, if you do want to consider one, that we set up a workshop in the future on this, because it is very, very detailed.
We don't want too much people to read because they won't read that.
I've read through it. I think it's a very good policy. There were a couple of things that I did have some questions on, and I do think it's a good starting point, because there's no need to reinvent the wheel if we're going to do this. And I think it gives us a whole lot to digest, and there's a lot of good information in it. But I do have a couple of things that when we can sit down and talk about it, I'd like to bring up.
I would not recommend doing it Friday at retreat, I would recommend a later date, say in September-ish or October-ish. What we're going to do for you Friday is bring up to you several items that we have brought up like this, where we've said, we need to discuss it as a later workshop. I think there are 4 or 5 things that we've gone through the minutes and identified that you wanted to have a workshop on. It was too much to do in one meeting, plus you've got a new alcoholic beverage license coming up that is an extreme change from what we have now, and those will be presented to you this week, and I would recommend that, you take a look at those as well. But there's several things we're going to bring up to you as we update you from the retreat on Friday. I guess the first question is, do we want to set up a policy?
I say yes.
I say yes. Simply because it's been back and forth for the last 4 or 5 years, trying to decide who's decided what. I think we need to set up a policy, and then that just.
And it's caused a lot of conflict with people that had their vehicles took away.
Yes, sir, it did.
Well, I mean, go ahead. As a board, we have basically set up a policy for administration. I mean, we actually set up we made a countywide decision that no one should be allowed to take vehicles home, except for, we didn't have anything that dealt with commuting. The warden was given permission to commute. No, it's not in writing, but
Seems contradictory.
our expectation of this is what?
Clearly defined.
Well, 2010 is an excellent example. We did not have an emergency communications department. When that department was created, and that position was created, that person was given a vehicle.
That was your decision.
No, ma'am, actually, I wasn't here in 2010, so.
Well, that was whoever else was here. That was their decision.
But now the board is questioning that decision because there is not a standard policy.
So right now, you have the person that does the 800 megahertz. You have a warden, and who else takes a vehicle home?
Fire chief, assistant fire chief, fire marshal, warden, coroner, and the sheriff's department, which is, he's a elected official.
Correct.
Well, the coroner's elected official too. And I think the warden, I think that was in his contract, wasn't it? Somebody told me that.
Actually, Department of Corrections advised us that they wanted the warden to be accessible 24/7 to the facility. So,
I'm sure he's gonna be up here for Milledgeville if he had an outbreak on Iowa.
Let me see how it goes. From where I'm standing, I don't think it's worth us making a humongous deal over the fact that one person more than the group of people that we already named has a take-home vehicle. And I mean specifically 900 megahertz. The question is, if we actually look to try to do a workshop to work on this, and we're doing this for the purpose of having a policy, or we're doing it for the purpose of trying to streamline our cost, I mean, not that it has to be specifically that, then a policy needs to be effective in that way. So, a lot of this says, it has some areas that talks about people commuting, which we do have people commuting, but we don't have, we don't really, as far as we're concerned, we don't have people commuting from Williams' end of it.
from the
administrative.
non-elected officials, correct?
Right. So, but as the people who make the decisions about how the money is spent, are we gonna be willing to say, if we say that if you live out of Spalding County, you can't drive a vehicle home at night, or nobody should drive a vehicle home, everybody should drive a vehicle back. Are we going to budget accordingly? If we're not gonna, if we create a policy and we're not gonna stand by it, and then we're not gonna, to budget by it and stand by what we said we're gonna do to get our financial situation straight, it's kind of moot to even do this. I mean, because this basically says that at any time, the county manager can decide if somebody really needs to have a take-home car. Well, that's generally what happens anyway.
To piggyback her a little bit, is this an area that, I know, I understand policies, and you have one in place, but is this a specific area where we're losing here, or because, I mean, is this a financial reason as well, as far as controlling money?
The savings from the discontinued use of take-home vehicles was minor compared to the...
The ruckus.
Yes, ma'am. So there's not, I think the big question here is, are you just going to make it apply to those who come under the jurisdiction of the county manager? Are you going to try to make it apply to everyone? Because the number of vehicles that come under the county manager are minuscule compared to the number of vehicles that come under, say, the sheriff. And the sheriff's a constitutional officer.
And he can let whoever he wants to drive a vehicle home.
Correct.
And so, and my point being is that as the group of elected officials in this county who have the right to create a budget and to decide what is financially feasible for the county, that's to say, if we decide that unless you meet specific criteria, you should not drive your vehicle home, then do we fund that way? That's the question. I mean, why go through all this if we're not gonna generate money? If you have, if the sheriff's got like 35 people that live in Thomaston, and they drive their vehicle back and forth to work every day, and that's 3 days a week or 4 days a week, and then it's a month, at the end of the year, what do you net? So, the conversation is about much more than having a vehicle use policy. We need to talk about some other stuff in terms of what are we trying to really achieve? Are we looking at ways that we can really save money on fuel use and gas and vehicle purchases and that kind of stuff? I mean, it's just not about coming up with a vehicle use policy, because just like William said, when you stop 4 people from driving, really, what difference is that gonna make?
Well, you got wear and tear on the vehicles too, not only the gas, but wear and tear driving 20 or 30 miles back and forth every day makes a difference on the life of that vehicle.
I mean, like not William, Lewis lived in Jackson, and he drove his vehicle there and back.
No, he didn't. They stopped him from driving.
No, but I'm saying what before when he was.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it may be a small amount, but, I think that was prudent on our part, because we don't need to provide you transportation to get to work. People who drive the ambulance don't get to drive the ambulance home.
On the other hand, the Public Works Director, who has to come out in storms, and Terry Tardy, the Director of Construction and Maintenance, if I have a roof leak or someone kicks in the back door, has to come from his house to the office, then to the location. So,
well, I mean, in discussing this, and I know we're not just going to do it now, but certainly I think we should look at whether or not there's an on-call person. Then we should have an on-call vehicle, whoever is on call will have that vehicle available to them the day that they have to go home. That kind of thing, but I'm just saying, we're not gonna really make a dent in this unless we figure out where we wanna go financially, because it is another workshop for something that's really not gonna make a lot of difference unless we figure it out. Go ahead, Commissioner Johnson.
Okay. The personal usage, okay, of these vehicles, are we taking into consideration that as well? Is that part of this as well, or just in addition to?
It's listed in there.
What is done now, Mr. Wyndham, the position that brought all this up, he is taxed on the value of that vehicle. So he pays taxes on the value of the personal use of that vehicle for commuting. I think there are two people now who do that, Mr. Wyndham and a maintenance person at the sheriff's department. They both pay because they are not excluded under the public safety law enforcement rule that sheriff's deputies and the coroner and the fire chief are all exempt from. So they are paying taxes on the value of that vehicle valued at an IRS guideline amount.
Wow.
That's the IRS rules.
But I mean, why are they using it for their personal stuff?
No,
They're not. They have-
personal meaning commuting back and forth to work. They're not using it to go to the drugstore to pick up a prescription,
And they're not taking vacation.
and they're not taking vacations. The personal use is considered driving it from their home to their office. So they pay taxes on that because they are not exempt public safety. And we provide them a vehicle.
Okay, but we don't really have a policy that says that only public safety can get a vehicle, do we?
Okay. No, ma'am, because
Because where?
If I may, I'd like to ask, under the general provisions, the deciding criteria as identified under this policy should be the nature of the traffic task and to the extent to which the task is defensible in the event of public criticism and/or questioned by higher authority. This board has questioned the use of vehicles over and over for the last 3 years I've been on this board. And this would clarify what the provisions are, and provide different definitions of what an emergency response is, what an emergency response vehicle is, emergency vehicles, control employee, commute trip mileage, call out business trip mileage. It defines all these things we're asking and puts it on the table so we have it for our employees. If the other elected officials, this facilitates our other elected officials like the sheriff's department and the court system. And we've had one issue with an elected official in the past, 4 months, where there was an accident.
correct.
And there was an issue of who, what, when, where, and why. This will help pin that down. So I was just trying to look to find a way to where we could identify to ourselves, to our employees, to the public, to provide something for the other, for the elected officials in the county government. They can choose to follow it or not, but this is fairly detailed in explanation and use, and we can do it or not. My feelings aren't hurt.
I would like to suggest that at our next meeting, which is not going to be September 2nd, that we set a date to review this policy, to streamline it to whatever it is that we want specifically for us, and then bring it back for a vote for approval.
Okay. Set a date for a work session at the September 16th meeting.
Is anybody good with that? Because he said around October, so that would give us.
Are we asking we to put together a draft from this?
Okay. Does anyone have any, well, I tell you what, yeah, let us mark this up for Spalding County and present it to you in Spalding County form, and rather than Bullock County form.
And if anybody reads through this and has any, my suggestion is if you read through this and have any questions about it or want to see some language change, then email those down so that while they're putting what they're putting together for
Please.
us, then when they get it to us, your comments and thoughts will be in it. Commissioner Gardner, we're gonna ask, at our next meeting in the middle of September, we're gonna set a date to do a review and a workshop on this and ask everybody to when they finish their readings or as they're reading, if they have any comments, and submit it to William, and they're gonna try to put together a policy to present to us, after we have the workshop, okay? Is everybody good with that? Good.
That was just discussed, so the direction we got is sufficient.
Yeah, to go with it. Next item on the agenda, consider declaring surplus and authorize the transfer to the prosecuting attorney's council, one vehicle used by the district attorney's office. William, you just-
Yes, ma'am, this is a 2001 Ford Crown Victoria. We are recommending transferring this vehicle to the prosecuting attorney's council so that they can carry insurance on it because it is driven by a district attorney's employee who is not an employee of the county and should not be covered. Well, we had an incident involving the county's insurance, and we are left with no way to defend and/or recommendations from the Accident Review Committee on the way that we analyze accidents and determine whether they're chargeable, et cetera, because we do not have control over that.
Madam Chair, move to approve the declaring surplus and authorize transfer of the prosecuting attorney's council one vehicle used by the district attorney's office as identified by County Commissioner Wilson.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Ray and a second by Commissioner Miller to approve the declaration of surplus and authorize transfer of the prosecuting attorney's council one vehicle used by the district attorney's office per the identification stipulated by the county manager. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, show of hands. 5-0. Item 10, presentation of Parks and Rec Advisory Commission's recommended projects for inclusion in a 2014 SPLOST project. This is just, this is not an action item, it's just an informational item. William, you want to go over that?
Yes, ma'am. The Parks and Rec Advisory Commission met last week. They had a list of 18 items, and there were some changes made to that, and their listing is for you attached. Their number one project was purchase land and construct a youth adult softball and football complex at a total cost of $11 million. Their new number two priority would be to build a recreation center with basketball courts, training facilities, etc., and an aquatic center. Roughly $11 million, etc. You can see those projects on down. But, and they are listed in their requested priority. Is that correct, Madam Chair? I also listed our annual estimated operating expenses. This is something we are going to ask everyone who submits a project this year, especially should it be a building or an additional service or something new other than paving roads and things of that nature, that they estimate annual operating expenses, because the cost of constructing a new facility can be paid for from SPLOST, but the operations cannot. Operations come out of each particular fund, whether it be general fund, fire district, or 911.
So these playgrounds that would be replaced, they talked about, would have to come out of the general fund?
What, no, sir. Which one are you talking
Well,
about?
say
Number
the
6?
replace soccer playground, yeah, 6.
No, sir, that's $150,000 to come out of SPLOST.
So it would come out of SPLOST.
Yes, sir. But up here where you see the, number one, the $11 million youth adult softball and football, the annual estimate of operating expenses is $495,000, which would come out of the general fund.
Yeah, all operating expenses.
Yes, sir.
Why did they combine the adult complex and the youth and football together?
Essentially, I think with this was to replace both Volunteer Park and Dundee Park. and to allow for tournaments and to have a facility like at Lamia Tyus, where you could share concessions and have a tournament type facility in hopes of generating revenues. Because we have a lot of adult softball teams.
You don't have that many now.
We don't now.
No. I don't think you have maybe about 25 or 30 at the most. No, at one time I had 55. But the industrial, there's no industrial here. Most of the industrial quit. The teams had to put up half the money, so they quit participating. Even Caterpillar did that.
As the chairman said, this is for informational purposes only. This is just to make the commissioners aware of the Parks and Rec Advisory Commission's prioritized request.
Okay, any comments? And we'll go on to the next item. Number 11, consider recommendation from the Parks and Rec Advisory Commission to rename the Spalding County Senior Center the Lewis F. Green Senior Center.
Gwen,
Yes,
I'd like to table that for the present.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Miller and a second by Commissioner Gardner to table this item. All those in favor, show of hands, 5-0. Next item on the agenda, consider adoption of a lighting policy as recommended by the Parks and Rec Advisory Commission.
Madam Chairman, the Board of Commissioners asked the Park and Rec Advisory Commission to come up with some way to reduce cost and/or provide revenues for lights at the ball fields. The policy that they came up with is a way of reducing costs. It doesn't really generate revenues. It could, should they not abide, should groups not abide by this, but I think the intent is just to reduce costs by reducing the operating time, and it provides for penalties if there's any violation, and it makes association representatives 30 minutes prior to dusk, they must, that's the earliest they can be turned on, and then 30 minutes after the official end of the game, they must be turned off. If they are left on for extended periods of time, or someone just wants to sit there and talk for 2 hours after the game, and they leave the lights on, that's a fine. It tells you by park, and it tells you that the lights will not be turned on again until the fine is paid. And that was the recommendation of the Parks and Rec Advisory Board.
Madam Chair, question.
Yes.
William, when it says game, but that also would include practices, correct?
Yeah.
I don't know that they discussed that, but we could,
Send it back and let's find out.
we can send it back, or we can make it ourselves.
Yeah.
I think you need to let them make that decision, because a lot of those practices gonna be at night anyway. I mean, school gets out scheduled one time, soccer and stuff, it's dark at 5:30. You know, that's
Yeah,
not gonna
and
have
at
any
6
place.
o'clock it's dark,
Yeah, so I mean, you're not gonna have any time to practice, so that they
unless
use
you
the
use
light.
the lights.
Unless you use the light, so I'd let the advisory board come back and address that.
Yeah.
We'll probably have to address how much time that will be allowed for practice and everything like that, because if you don't specify a time, somebody could decide to practice for 5 hours. So, but anyway, that's I'd like to have a
Yeah,
recommendation.
because I don't even really know how long practice goes on. I mean, I know
Probably about an
school-
hour, most of, any of them practice, let them practice, and they usually have 2 teams, but you got fields up at Tide Park, don't have lights on. So it's limits the number of fields that they can practice on.
I applaud them for working on this and trying to come up with ways to help us cut costs.
You want to table it for clarification on these 2 issues?
I think that
Is
was
that,
Madam Chair, move the table pending issues identified.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Ray and a second by Commissioner Gardner to table and send back to Park and Rec for clarification the lighting policy that they recommended. Is there any, all those in favor? 5-0. Consider rescheduling date and time for county manager's evaluation due to conflict. I'm the one that has a conflict, so,
We had tentatively set that in September.
and we knew that some of you guys were gonna be gone the week before that. and
Right. And then William,
It's gonna be
my
gone.
wife and I are gonna be gone on our 25th wedding anniversary trip, from the middle of September to the end of September, so either, the dates I suggested were this Friday at 8 a.m. before the financial policies and procedures meeting. I know that everyone here is a morning person, especially Bart, so if we could do it then. He's a farmer, he's gotta be a morning person.
What
I
time
won't be
is the
ready
financial
this Friday
policy?
morning, 8 o'clock.
Or, our meeting this Friday starts at 9 for the financial policies and procedures review.
Mhm.
And then after that meeting completes, by the way, we're only on page 7 of the financial policies and procedures out of 16. When that meeting concludes, then we'll go directly into the retreat. We could have it after that retreat update, or Thursday, September 26th, before the zoning public hearing. Now, I believe, Madam Chairman, you wanted to address this before the September 30th date,
Mhm.
which you have to give me.
But isn't somebody out of town that Thursday? I thought.
On
Raymond or
September
Jefferson-
26th or August 26th?
August 26th.
No, I said September 26th.
Okay.
Our zoning, I knew you were gonna be out next week.
I'm good either one of those 3 times.
When are you going on your vacation?
September 14th through the
28th.
I don't think it's that far.
You said 2 weeks.
14th through, I actually think it's the 24th or 25th. That's why I said the 26th, right before our zoning meeting that night. And I've checked, and we do have items for a zoning meeting that night on September 26th.
You good with that? That's kind of getting too close to the edge. I mean,
Well, I mean, the contract says you have to give notice if you do not wish to renew it by September 30th of each year, so that meets the,
okay. I mean, if everybody else is good with this August, September.
The original date was September 9th, wasn't it?
yes, sir. The original date was September 9th, that's
That's a Monday.
a Monday.
And you leaving the 14th?
Yes, sir. And we can do it during that week if you want.
When are you gonna be out of town, Raymond?
Next week.
In August?
Next week.
Now, Commissioner Gardner, I believe you're
I'm
going to be
gonna
out of town.
leave Thursday the 12th, early in the morning.
September
September
12th?
12th. What about the 10th or the 11th? What,
I can make it work one of those days. If y'all, on the 9th, if
I
y'all
don't
just
know
can't
about-
meet
Well,
during the
the
day,
8th
we can
when,
meet that
I mean-
evening. It don't matter to me.
8th's a Sunday if you want to do it on Sunday.
No,
don't
I,
bother me?
You might have to sing happy birthday to me.
no,
We ain't got to buy a present, have we?
We can do that.
If you make me come to a meeting, you better bring a present.
I really just wanna get it over so you won't have that, feeling like you gotta get back and do that, so we can have it done for you.
That way you can enjoy your trip.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
And we want to try to do it on Friday?
Friday morning.
Friday the 6th of September. No, is that what y'all saying?
It's coming Friday.
This coming Friday?
This Friday, 23 August.
The 23rd.
I mean, you can do it then.
Oh, okay, I mean, yeah, I'm ready.
You want to do it at 8? Or is that too early?
We're sitting here talking the 23rd, you go to the 8th?
No, it's 8 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, I misunderstood. I apologize, so William.
If y'all don't wanna do it in the morning, we'll do it in the afternoon. It don't matter to me.
We're gonna be together all day.
I mean, we'll be here all day, so you can wait and do
Take a
it.
shower.
in the afternoon if you want.
It shouldn't take that long. I mean,
It shouldn't take more than an hour. I don't even think it'll take that.
Friday afternoon will be fine. I don't have a problem. We're gonna be here anyway.
Okay.
That's
So we'll do it as the last item on the retreat update, is that okay? Okay?
Yeah, and then it'll be done.
Last item on retreat update.
Thank you guys for switching.